Hello, everybody, and welcome to a brand new episode of the Need to Nerd podcast. I'm your host, Spencer, and I am joined by my new co-host, permanent co-host, a man who invited me to be in his wedding line and still has yet to send me a picture of me at that wedding, Paddy B, MTG.
I gotta talk to our photographer, because I gotta access those pictures. You're right. You're 100%
For
right.
context, I asked Paddy B before the show started, I was like, how awkward can I make this intro? And he said on a scale of 1 to 10, an 8.
An 8. Yeah.
And I feel like that was like a 7.
Sure. What's 10?
Oh man,
Just curious.
I'm glad you didn't say 10.
Didn't say 10.
We were at 10 when I
Full
called
send.
you today, right? Like that was that's a 10. So before we get started, I want to introduce Paddy. You guys have listened to him. He's been on this show I think twice now. He has done the Hocus Pocus episode and now part 1 of Kenobi. And Paddy offered up his services when Wes and I decided that our schedules didn't align. So we're going to continue the show bi-weekly, moving on from here on out. It can't be bi-weekly in 2 weeks from now because I'll be in Nashville, but we'll figure out our recording schedule. We'll go on to a bi-weekly schedule. Paddy, really quickly for the listeners, who are you and why should they care that you want to be on Need to Nerd?
Well, hi. So I'm Paddy, also known as Patrick. I am a lifelong nerd. I have a huge Star Wars fan, love comic books, going to go see Thor tonight. And I'm really excited to talk about nerd stuff and explore some areas and things that I'm not necessarily accustomed to. Like, I'll probably watch a bunch more anime.
Oh man, it'll be so fun to get you into anime. We got some stuff that we can do. Paddy, I'm so excited to do the show with you, but we can't get into that for too long because we got to talk about the Nerd Fact of the Week.
Yes, we do.
So, have you seen the interviews for Kenobi?
I have watched a few of them, yeah.
Have you seen the one where people talk about Hayden coming, like there's multiple of them where people talk about like Hayden would get in his Vader costume and purposely try to scare people on set?
Yeah, I did see a couple
like,
times where, he talked about that.
That is so funny. And it was funny because, like, then pictures started he started photobombing people. Like, when he got into his, like, makeup.
In his Vader costume.
Yeah, when he got into his...
white.
Well, no, in the Vader costume, but when his face makeup was on, to make it, like, extra scary, it's so great. It's so great.
Yeah. Great actor. Underrated.
Oh, super underrated. Got dragged through the mud by I'll be honest, by boomers and Gen Z, and he didn't deserve it. He had already won a Golden Globe before joining Star Wars, and I think that last episode we took a pretty big stance against the way that people were already starting to treat the 9-year-old playing Leia, the oh my gosh, I can't remember her name, that plays the third sister, but
yeah, I put that down too.
But like, that's just not what this podcast is about. Like, I've been a fan of Hayden since the prequels. I thought that his ability to portray a very broken person was really good, and I'm excited to talk about him more in this episode. Before we get into the episode, though, we got some housekeeping to do. First of all, I don't know how this works, but we have a sponsor now, Paddy B. And it is
a sponsor?
Yeah, it's it's the hosting service of this podcast, Anchor from Spotify. I don't know when my ad is going to play. If it's already played for you, good for that. Or if it's the end, or if it's in the middle, I don't know where it is. But I just want to mention, like, Paddy B, do you know I produce a podcast called Drafting Archetypes?
I do. Yes, with Mr. Sam Black.
Sam Black, future MTG Hall of Famer, one of the best Magic players of all time, one of the best drafters of all time. And when starting that show, I got a lot of questions as his producer, like, how do you produce a podcast? And unequivocally, I just told people, you need to go to anchor.fm. Like, if I could do it all over again, I would just use Anchor. And there's a lot of reasons for that. One, it lets you post your podcast everywhere from one spot really easily. There's a lot of reasons to use Anchor. But I love them, and being able to promote them on this show is something that I appreciate because I think they're great. We also have a Discord. As mentioned previously on this show before its hiatus, we're going to bring back game nights and MTG contests and stuff like that. That stuff is to be decided. We do have MTG contests going on. It is posted in the Discord, so check the show notes. If you've got a sweet list that you're winning with on Arena or MTGO in Constructed, or you do well like Paddy B in drafts, post it in our Discord. Get some store credit to puremtgo.com. Constructed Criticism Opens are back as well, our sister podcast on the Constructed Criticism Network. Do you want to see the trophy?
Oh, you have it like?
It's in my room. Do you want to see it?
I've seen I've seen a picture of the trophy, but I mean, the more times you get to see this sweet trophy, the better, right?
Here's the trophy.
No. Oh, it's all bubble wrapped.
Oh yeah. For the listeners, this is a great experience because I'm definitely not editing this part out.
Check out the YouTube.
Look at how much bubble wrap this thing takes to be safe. Oh man. This is gonna be a nightmare. This is gonna be a nightmare to put back in. But for you, Paddy B, for you, the future winner of this trophy, I'll show you.
Plan to be.
So, Paddy B, here's the trophy. I went for black. I thought that gold was, I don't know, a little... I didn't want it to look like a participation trophy from like a soccer league. I very much wanted a cup that Paddy B could drink scotch out of. Or wait, you're Irish whiskey?
Yeah.
What do you drink, Paddy B?
Yeah.
You win this trophy. What are you drinking out of it?
I'm drinking a nice champagne, not a cheap champagne. Yeah.
That's a big cup for champagne for what it's worth. That's like not that might be as much as the flute actually. Maybe as much as a flute. If you want to win this trophy that we're holding up for the video listeners, stay tuned as we post the CCMTG Open coming up. This is just going to sit right here though during the episode so people can maybe see it. Yeah, right there.
And if you get bored with us, you can watch Clone Wars in the back there.
Yeah, don't promote that we're breaking lots of rules right now. That being said, let's go on to our main topic. It is Kenobi. This time 4 through 6. We did 1 through 3 in our last episode. If you haven't listened to that, check it out. I want to talk about 4 through 6. Paddy B, we had some could be betters.
We did
in our last episode. Once again, if you haven't listened to that episode, you should listen to it before this one. Episodes 4 through 6 have all the payoff. Like, all the payoff. And it is a master class in giving you TV payoff week after week after week in a show. Kenobi episodes 4 through 6 are a look into the psyche of people, not just one people, but 3 people. Actually, more than that, if we're being really honest. More like 7 people. And a way to write characters that have both already been written, yet breaks their own mold. I think Kenobi episodes 4 through 6 are some of the best pieces of TV that I've ever watched. And I'm not just saying that as a Star Wars fan. I think it's really good. So, with that being said, Paddy B, is there anything else you want to say before spoiler time?
I think I want to say before spoiler time. I don't think so. I'm glad that we got the payoffs that we did. Because I definitely, if you watch our last episode, I was looking for them. I was like, these are XYZ. These are the payoffs I want. And I think we got them all. So,
with that being said, if you have not watched these episodes, if you have not watched the last episode of this podcast, full on spoilers. Like this is so quick. I mean, what are we like 8 minutes into the show? Like 9 minutes, 10 minutes, 10 minutes into the show, full spoilers. We're getting right into the meat of this one. We're going to start with overall impressions. Paddy B, I'm going to kick it to you first.
Okay.
You had very particular could-be-betters during our last episode.
Yes.
Do you remember what they were?
It was a lot about Reva.
Yes.
Our
We
third
both had the
sister.
parkour one. I don't think that changed for me for what it's worth. We don't even have to talk about it, but like the parkour was too much. There was too much parkour. I don't think did anything change your opinion on the parkour?
I was not as bothered by that as you were.
You said it too.
I agreed with you that it was not
No,
great.
I think that your complaint was the amount of time it took, not that it was too much parkour.
Right. Yes. So there was a lot of filler that I think episodes 1 and 2 could have been one episode possibly.
Right. So your feelings with Reba is you didn't understand her motivations.
Yeah, she's really mixed, and it didn't. Yeah.
To be fair, I said what I thought on that episode, and I was wrong, right? I was like, she wants to kill Kenobi because she blames him, which was true for what it's worth. Like that was true, but
she did ask him the question of like, why weren't you there? Why didn't you stop him?
She like definitely gave him some blame, like I said, but I guess we're in full spoiler territory.
Yeah, we are.
What did you think of she was an Inquisitor to kill Vader?
Well, yeah. So that was one of the signpost things that I wanted to see. Right, I wanted to see her get attacked at Order 66, and we got to see that. And so, like her seeing his face, right? Those big things of like, oh, how does she know that he's Anakin, right? We were able to get that, and so, yeah, it definitely added to that, and paid that off in a way that I was acceptable.
What were some of your other overall impressions? Like, I'm sure it wasn't all the payoffs, or was it? Was it all just the payoffs, or?
Yeah, payoffs and pacing.
Yeah, I think the pacing was really good. Which is wild. What's even more wild, and maybe I don't know if you agree with this. The episodes 1 through 3 told one story, right? That's how it felt to me. Episode 4 told one story, and then episode 5 told a story and a half, and then episode 6 told the other half of that story.
Buttoned everything up.
Yeah, it was, but I agree with you. Overall impressions were that pacing was just so much faster at the end. Or is that not what you were thinking?
No, yeah, no, things moved a lot quicker. And everything, once they provided that exposition, things started falling into place in the later episodes, and so you're able to follow things a little more linearly. That's what
those are your overall impressions?
Yeah.
Oh man, I have so much. If I were to describe these episodes, one like you would be payoffs. But it's payoffs in a lot of different ways. And I think this is the opportunity to highlight toxic Star Wars fandom that we like to do as why we don't do it. When episode 4 came out, it might be it was episode 5. One of those episodes got some negative reactions from the Star Wars community. And there were a couple reasons. One, a lack of cameos. People wanted just ridiculous cameos. And I won't get into this. There's lots of stuff on TikTok and YouTube talking about how, people expect Marvel level cameos from Star Wars now that it's a Disney property. And I would say that that's just not Star Wars. Like, we're not telling the story of some person that has nothing to do with Obi-Wan. We're telling Obi-Wan's story. And if you want something different, watch a different show. Like, if you want Ahsoka's story, wait for Ahsoka. If you want, if you want Luke's story, wait for a TV show about Luke. Like, I just don't understand
Go watch the original
yeah, go watch the original trilogy. It's 3 whole movies.
There is
6
content
hours
for you
of that
out there, and I think that's Disney's goal, right? Is like there is going to be Star Wars content for everybody.
Yeah.
Like,
and I think that I think the reason that there was this visceral reaction by that segment of the fandom is, here's the thing about toxic Star Wars fandom, and I'm not going to pretend it's not true. I think a lot of them just love Star Wars, and they want so much from every piece of content, and that's okay. And the advice that I would give Star Wars fans, and my overall reaction is, I had to do this a lot of times in Star Wars, especially I remember exactly when I got Fallen Order for the Xbox, and I was like, all right, here's the deal. I have not loved a lot of Star Wars games since KOTOR. And it is inappropriate of me to want what I got from KOTOR from these video games. And just like that, whatever your favorite piece of Star Wars content is, my favorite piece of Star Wars content happens to be Return of the Jedi. I could watch that movie literally every hour of every day. And my overall impression of the show is that it gave me that kind of happiness because I went into it trying not to get it. Like, I went into it wanting to just see what Hayden and Ewan could bring to the screen. And I got a lot more than that. And I would say that was my overall impression. It's just getting more than that. Let's go into favorite characters for these episodes. We have the same favorite character. And I don't think it was particularly close in this. And I'm going to go first because I don't want you to steal my limelight here, man. Okay. I rewatched all 3 today during work while I was writing documentation at work. And I specifically tried to watch the moments where Vader is on screen. And one of the reasons is that Vader was amazing in the original trilogy, right? Mm-hmm. And I think that Vader was amazing in Rogue One. And I actually think it's a hard character to live up to. Luckily, Hayden had the benefit of voicing Vader / Anakin, as well as being accompanied by Mufasa to voice Vader in this. And we talked about that last episode, but the moment where is it Reva? I think her name is Reva.
Yes. Yep.
Where he and Reva are fighting, where she's betraying him. I watched that scene twice today. Like, I watched the episode and then I actually rewatched the scene. Because it's really interesting to note that Hayden's the one standing in that costume and doing all these things, and he's probably delivering the lines, right? Like, I just, oh man, I was so impressed. I'm like tearing up. The thing is that it is, I think that one of the reasons that I really appreciate the moment of realizing that you can't come into something like this with the expectations is, I would have never expected James Earl Jones to be voicing Vader again. I mean, I'm just going to pull this up really quick. I was Googling it while I was talking, but James Earl Jones is 91 years old.
Right.
Well, there's no reason for me to expect him to voice Vader right now.
Right. But they made it happen, and it was really cool.
And there's, like, I don't know. I watched that scene, and I saw the same level of scary that Vader brought me as a kid. Like, the moment where I remember watching the first time with Devonair, specifically I think it's episode 5, where he stops her saber from spinning, takes the saber, splits the saber in half, and gives it back to her.
Yep.
And, like, this is the most Anakin Vader BS I've ever seen. Like, and the way that Hayden delivers the motions are so Vader, where it's deliberate, like one of the things I like about Vader, and I think the reason that makes Vader so scary, you're also welcome to interrupt me at any time, Penny, is that Vader is, he's not one-dimensional, he's deliberate.
Yeah.
He's one-minded, one-minded, I don't know how to explain this.
Maybe like singular and like purpose. Everything has a purpose, and like everything is purposeful.
Whether he's wrong or right, he is gonna make a decision and he's gonna stick to it. From torturing Leia, from obeying, from his, I mean, even in this show, his dedication to the Empire the Emperor at the very end. It's clear what he wants to do. The Emperor makes a comment. He's like, "You're right. My service is to you."
Yeah, that was, and you can see that Obi-Wan is like, the Emperor's like, right, like, oh, Obi-Wan's making you erratic.
Yeah.
Like, you're going crazy. And he does kind of go crazy in the comics. With this hunt for Obi-Wan. So, I did like that. And yeah, no, the throwing the lightsaber back at her, just like, it gave me chills. I was like, oh.
Oh, it was... Oh man, that scene is so good. Like also, how many? I'm pretty sure we've seen Anakin do it, but like, how many people other than Anakin and Kylo Ren have literally just like put their hand up to stop a lightsaber from hitting them? I can't think of another one.
I think that's unless, I mean, I haven't seen a lot of
the Clone Wars or stuff, but I don't think it happens in other places. Like it's really cool. I want to give you a chance to talk about Vader before I talk about Anakin because we're sharing these. So
yes. So Darth Vader just has all the best moments, and we talk a lot, at the beginning about payoffs. He's in all those big payoffs, and the final scene with Obi-Wan, that fight was also fantastic and brilliantly done. Their dialogue there, I was really impressed with. I have a few could be betters, but we'll get to that sometime here. But no, watching Hayden as Darth Vader,
he did it. Like, we didn't get to see it in the
Revenge of the Sith.
The Revenge of the Sith, and
yeah,
I got to know how they made him that tall, though.
I mean, CG, right? Like,
no, it wasn't. No, he's in a costume. They're showing his whole body. It's not stilts, is it? Is he on stilts doing all of this motion? That would be wild. You Google it. I want to talk about Anakin, because Anakin shows up a few times, and he also shows up in very different ways. We have flashbacks. We have the flashback of the training. I was in full-blown tears. If you followed me on Twitter when I watched that episode, which... Did I spoil this for you? I try to be non-spoiler. Did I watch it before or after you, Paddy B?
Did you watch...
the training fight before or after you? Where I was posting to Twitter.
I think I watched it first.
Okay. I wasn't spoiler you, right? Like, I was very clearly... I'm just sobbing... I think I did it like by minute segments of that episode, and by the end I was broken. One, I'm really glad that they gave us that flashback. And if you wanted more payoff or more cameos than Anakin and Obi-Wan fighting right before Revenge of the Sith, before he even becomes a Jedi Knight, like it was oh my gosh. I think Hayden did the perfect job of being cocky. He did the perfect job of... I can't imagine playing a character that you played... I mean, we talked about this in the last episode, right? But, like, I can't imagine playing a character that I played 15 years ago.
Right. Yeah.
It sounds so hard. And not only that, they had to play, Hayden and Ewan had to play these characters in the future, 15 year
and in the past.
And in the past. But like they've already played this character in Revenge, they have to play them before Revenge, get in that mindset, and then also play them in the future.
Clones. Yep.
And then Anakin or Hayden has to play Darth Vader during Darth Vader's life and Anakin during Darth Vader's during that scene that we'll get into later. Like,
yeah.
Oh my gosh. Anakin crushed it. Like, if you don't like Hayden after the show, you just hate the prequels, you were never going to like this, and you shouldn't have watched it.
That's probably a fair assessment. So I found the answer. So yes, there is actually a stunt person that replaced Christensen during the scenes when Vader is fighting, as well as the full body shots.
Okay, so that makes sense. Wait, hold on. Maybe I misunderstood. When you say fighting, you mean fighting during full body shots, right? Because there's video of him and Ewan practicing the scenes where they're not. Shots. Okay.
Yes.
So there's a taller person doing that part of the fight.
Yes.
That makes way more sense. I was like, that person does not look like they're on stilts. Like, that's way too fluid.
It's impossible to move that way.
Okay.
Not impossible, but very tricky.
That's actually really good info, right? Like, when not full body and you're watching him fight, it's Hayden. Mm-hmm. During any full body shot or during any fight with a full body shot, it's a stunt double.
Mm-hmm.
That's interesting.
The stuntman is Demetrius.
Shout out to that person though, because that's actually the person that must have thrown back the saber to Riva. And I thought that was.
Oh right, because he's kind of.
Yeah, it's full. It's a full. I mean, there's. Unless they had Hayden on stilts in that scene, there's no way that's Hayden.
It's choreo. Those are like choreographed moments though.
I've done choreographed fight scenes. I'm sure you have too. Yeah. Like the way that he has to mimic. He can't even mimic. I don't remember the original Vader actor's name. It's so sad for him because we all remember James Earl Jones, but like you're not trying to mimic that Vader. You're trying to mimic Hayden's Vader while you watch Hayden. And I just thought that person did a great job. So shout out to them. Anything you want to say, Anakin, that I didn't say, or anything that you want to emphasize?
With the fight scene, it's so that had to have been when he was trying to become a master. Right, those are like the trials.
I mean, with the fight with Obi-Wan at the end.
No, at the beginning that they're splicing.
Oh,
as far as, like. Oh,
I see. So. Okay, so according to which part of it depends on which part of Star Wars lore, and I'll get into this a little bit. Oh man, I don't get to geek out this much. So, in the books, here's what happens. Huge spoilers for books too. If you don't want to hear this, skip ahead. I'm about to spoil something for Paddy B because I don't want to force Paddy B to read books that he probably doesn't have time to read. Are you okay with that, Paddy?
Yes.
Okay. So, I think actually before Obi-Wan came out, the book Brotherhood comes out. And it is actually the story of Anakin and Obi-Wan. Before that book, Master and Apprentice came out. And that is the story of Obi-Wan and Qui-Gon. So, in Brotherhood, they actually talk about what happens is they promote a lot of Padawans from Padawan to Knight without trials during the Clone Wars.
Okay.
And Anakin actually hates it. He feels like he's lost a lot of the valor, the prestige that comes with becoming a knight instead of a Padawan. So, you don't have to be a master to have a Padawan, for what it's worth. You have to be a knight.
Right.
And that's part of becoming a master is taking a Padawan from Padawan to knighthood.
Right.
So for Anakin, he gets promoted because there's a war, and he is a person that cares a lot about this and is trying to do... Oh man, if you listen to my other podcasts, you're going to love this, but like Anakin is very always improving. He wants to be the very best like no one ever was. And him getting promoted to knight he didn't like it.
Because he didn't feel that he earned it.
Yeah. So you could be right? Like that he's trying to... But here's the thing is that if you watch when he's a Padawan in Attack of the Clones, both he and Obi-Wan say he's a better fighter, he is stronger in the Force, he's more attuned with the... Well, actually, there's a moment where Obi-Wan says that he's not as in tune with the Force, which really upsets Anakin in that film. But if you watch later, they both admit it, that like Anakin is far superior in a lot of ways than Obi-Wan. I think that it's true. I think that for well, the thing is that it's such the difference, right? Like, is it Anakin that's trying to beat Obi-Wan, or is it Vader that's trying to beat Obi-Wan? Because I don't think Vader has a problem beating Obi-Wan. Because he's let go of everything but his hate, right? And he's only using his hate to fuel him. That dude that slaughtered, like, I don't even know how many Sand people just beats Obi-Wan. Like, there's not a world in which that Vader doesn't beat Obi-Wan. The problem is it's not Vader that wants to beat Obi-Wan. Right? It's Anakin. Mm-hmm. And I think that's why Hayden does such a good job of playing a broken person. Did I answer your question and give... I don't know.
I think so.
Okay.
Yeah.
Anything else on Anakin before we move on?
No, I don't think so. Just, yeah, I did like how, they had this story of back when that mirrored exactly what was going to happen. Like,
we'll get into more of this. Oh, sorry, I wasn't trying to interrupt you. We'll get into this probably more during Lovitz, but I want to give you the chance at the storylines first. What was your favorite storyline during these 3 episodes?
Yeah, so I really like what they did with Princess Leia. I really like how that story ended, and how you could really see, like, oh, that girl at the end is definitely going to be Leia. Like, I feel that.
Can I ask you a question about this? Because I actually had a moment similar to this today when I was watching. Was it the interrogation scene that, like, really did it? For me, that was the scene. I was like, this is the most Leia BS I've ever seen. Like...
Right, like, I gotta talk to my father first.
Oh, just like the whole, like, I don't remember. I don't know. I'm a princess of Alderaan. Like, the whole thing was like...
Just switching.
It was so wild.
Yeah.
I agree. I love this as a storyline.
And then, like, at the end when she's touching her bun,
yes,
like, making her hair perfect, I was like, yes, that's Leia.
What'd you think of the holster scene?
The holster. Oh, your mom's like, is that a holster?
I thought it was a good payoff. Like, one, she's expecting her cousin, right? She's expecting him to be like, look at my empty holster, biatch. Like, you might say bad things about, but like, additionally, like, in A New Hope, we talk about how they have no weapons. They're trying to advocate for peace across the entire empire.
Yeah.
It's interesting.
But she still knows her way around a blaster rifle.
Yeah, she does.
And then with the with the holster as well. I mean, it carries on those things that you saw with Tala, right? those characteristics and things that she learned from Tala.
I love that as a storyline. I have a different one. And I was probably always going to have this one, but my favorite storyline is very much Anakin's. I got in trouble with a family member once when I talked about identifying with Anakin like as a character.
That's interesting.
I grew up in a very strict religious organization, where I felt like I wasn't allowed to be myself. And Anakin's frustrations mirror a lot of my own. And while I didn't go down the path of Anakin, obviously,
you didn't murder younglings.
yeah, I have always identified with the idea that like there was this is going to sound weird. There was certainly a path for me where I become a much worse person than I am today. And I think that anybody who really dives into Star Wars can see where Anakin feels justified. And I actually don't even think that Obi-Wan does anything to appeal to those justifications. And even though he doesn't, Anakin still comes out and tells him it's not his fault. Because deep down, Anakin's still a good person. Hold on. You're like looking at me weird. So hold on. There's no reason for Vader to tell Obi-Wan that he didn't create Vader. If he wanted to hurt Obi-Wan and really hurt him, he wouldn't have said that. There's no reason for him to do it. But Anakin instead is like, hold on, dude. I made my choices. Like, F you, you did none of this. And part of that is pride, but part of it is like, you didn't do this.
Well, I don't think he's actually talking to Anakin in that.
He is. You got to watch that scene again. The whole voice. Paddy B. Oh my gosh, his voice changes to literally Hayden's voice when he says it.
I know, but that's Darth Vader.
No, it's Anakin. It is writing.
It literally says that he killed Anakin Skywalker.
I understand what you're saying. I'm telling you. Yeah. I'm telling you that as a writer, as somebody who has tried to write a book once, that what is happening here, and the reason it switches to Anakin's voice, and from red to blue on his face, and just like in the there's a moment that happens that I won't spoil for you in Rebels.
I know the moment.
Okay.
That actually could be better. One of them.
Oh, we're gonna talk about this then.
Yeah, we are.
I think to me, like, I loved the story. There is closure for Obi-Wan because Anakin and Vader do not allow themselves to have their own closure. It would be really easy for Vader and Anakin to say, "You did this to me," because they did it a freaking 2 episodes ago. 2 episodes ago, they say, "I am what you created," or whatever. But then in this episode, they're like, "No, you didn't do it. Like, it was me. I made my choices." And also, when they say that it was Obi-Wan because they're trying to hurt him, they win. When they admit their own faults and their own insecurities, they lose. Because it's Anakin doing that. Anyway, that's just my opinion. That's my food for thought there, buddy. Let's go on to Could Be Better.
I'll rewatch that scene.
Just watch the lighting. If it's blue,
sure.
If it's blue and it's
that's
Hayden's
like a
voice,
visual cue that that you're supposed to be thinking of Anakin.
Yeah.
And that you're talking to Anakin.
I would never, in the state of Utah, advise the use of recreational drugs, but maybe try that too. That being said, let's talk about could be betters. I have one could be better. I'm not going to mention the character that it was, but I really hate it when we have a sound cue or a visual cue for a character death before it happens. And that's not just Star Wars. That's like in everything. And can I say something that's pretty controversial? I hated Westworld. Like season 1 of Westworld. And the reason is because it was so predictable. And then everybody posted to the internet how smart they were for figuring it out. And if your goal is to make people figure out that somebody's going to die or something's going to happen, and you want to do it with a bunch of visual cues and audio cues, then fine. But as a consumer, it just ruins that moment for me. So, if a character that just saved Obi-Wan and Leia is going to die, and it's also already obvious from the fact that she's doing the things that she's doing, you don't need to give me a 3-minute audio cue of that happening. And I thought that both times I watched the episode. I was like, oh my gosh, are we dragging this freaking thing out this long? It's like 3 minutes of audio, dude. It is so long where this...
It didn't feel that
long. I looked at the time on the audio cue.
Oh, you stopped watching
it is a 3-minute audio cue before her death. It is offensive. One, by the time it gets to like 15 seconds, I already know she's going to die.
I think you're pretty clear now.
Anyway, that's...
You're giving some big clues.
Yeah. I don't want to mention her. It doesn't even matter who it is. The reason that I'm not mentioning the character, you probably already all know who it is, is because it doesn't matter. I don't need that long of... think of characters that have died that have been impactful. A huge one, we'll just mention Star Wars, we have Qui-Gon Jinn's death. Mm-hmm. 0 cue. Just happens. Just literally just dies. The music stops when it happens, but there's nothing leading up to it where you think he's going to die.
I mean, when they're lasered off, and the pause is there.
Why does it make you think he's gonna die?
I don't know.
You think that because you've watched it 17 times, and now you've associated that sound before his death. But if you rewatch the episode, if you rewatch episode 5 of Kenobi, you will literally be like, oh, this is her dying. We've got 3 minutes of the whole new soundtrack of her death.
Adding that to my list here of things to go check. when I inevitably rewatch this series.
I think that while could be better, I love good sacrifices, so I'm not going to say that wasn't a good one. I think it was a great one. It teaches you the value of changing as a human and stuff like that. I just don't want my deaths to be in the style of Westworld. I just think it is
So, what do you think about the moment with the character, the other character in that scene, right?
The droid?
That's the scene that you're talking about. Yes.
All right. Well, should we just say who we're talking about now?
Yeah.
Okay.
It's Tala.
Yeah. So the Tala scene is it bugged me so much. My wife is the worst at predicting stuff. And she's like, oh, she's going to die. Because, as the music started, she's like, oh, she's going to die. The first time we watched it, I was like, yeah, obviously. I did... The droid thing was predictable, but, didn't bug me. I don't have the attachment to droids that other people have, though. C-3PO and R2 and BB-8. R2 or R4. Like I don't have the
BB-8.
I said BB-8 already. I'm trying to think of the one from Fallen Order. B. What is the Fallen Order one? Is B? Is it B8?
I don't know. I still have to play that game.
Do you have an Xbox?
Yeah, we talked about that last time.
I'll give you a. Just literally come grab it from me.
Yeah, I will. Fallen Order.
I can't believe I don't remember the name of this droid. He's like my favorite droid. Oh, it's BD1.
BD1. Yep.
BD1's like the closest. I mean, even in KOTOR, I didn't play with droids. Like I just don't have an attachment to them. I don't know.
More that was just like, as far as like the.
It was predictable, but like I don't care if it's predictable because it's the droid. The droid's job seems to be to protect her and right. So like, it just made sense for that.
Right. But do you like? I'm just thinking as far as like, you're talking about like how long that
Oh, I see what you're saying.
And like.
It extended it.
That other moment, it kind of extended that and wasn't maybe as abrupt as you would have liked.
Maybe. That's an interesting thought. I think that a lot of people care a lot about the droids, and so the droid needed its own death. Even if I'm not that person.
It's there for someone else.
Yeah. And I'm okay with things being there for someone else. The build-up was just too long. My next could be better, so we'll just move into it. Apparently there's a 2.5 hour fan edit of this entire series.
Oh, really?
And as somebody who believes that this could have been a movie, I would have loved to see that. I would love Disney to release a 2.5 hour edit of this.
Oh, that'll never happen. But yeah, that would be sweet.
The
version.
I think that if you want to fix the things that I have problems with in the last 3 episodes, and the things that Paddy B had problems with in the first 3 episodes, a 2.5 hour 2.5 hour edit of as a film probably fixes them.
I think that was something that we said before, or at least that I said before too, right? Was like, I would like to see an Inquisitors series or story, right, following Reva and that whole thing, and then something on Obi-Wan, like that could have been 2 series.
I agree. I think that you're trying to tell 2 stories in a 6 episode span where you could have told one story in a movie and then made a series about the other thing. Yeah, I agree. I agreed with your previous could be better, even though I think it fixed a lot of your could be better's problems in the. It's so weird. We're now agreeing, yet it fixed your problems. What are your could be betters?
So, oh man, it is like plot hole city with the third sister ending. Like I don't see how she can know what she knows and like be alive in this universe where she knows that Luke.
Well, who knows she's alive?
Is connected. She lives at the end. And
who knows she's alive?
So Obi-Wan.
Okay.
And Luke.
Did you want Obi-Wan to murder her after she let Luke live?
No, I wanted her to die. Just so that there's no way.
Who's gonna kill her?
That's right. So, should have been Vader.
So he thought he did.
So I have non-lethal. I put it in our show notes here. Lightsaber issues, non-lethals, like with the Grand Inquisitor coming back.
That was actually my other could be better that I forgot. Can we talk about this one?
Yeah, sure,
I actually don't have a problem with Reva surviving. My problem is the non-explanation.
Not like check, like
it's just like one. We knew Reva survived at the end of the episode before this, right? Like, so like at that point, are you upset that she didn't die to Vader, or are you upset that Obi-Wan didn't kill her?
Kinda. Like I think I would have liked Vader to finish the job. right? And not just have them
I
just
don't think that's
leave
Vader's
her
style.
there.
I think that if you think about where Vader's at as his character, I'm not trying to yuck your yuck for what it's worth. But I do think that like Vader is pulling an Obi-Wan, right? Where he's like, he's in his head. He's like, I'm just gonna
leaving him on Mustafar.
yeah, exactly. Literally exactly that.
Okay.
I would also say that the Grand Inquisitor one is way more abhorrent.
Egregious, yeah.
The reason it's abhorrent for what it's worth is we know he lives. Like, if you just follow canon Star Wars, you know he's alive. And the way that they kept him alive was, he's alive. It's like, oh, okay. Well,
imagine what will to live when you have all you have is revenge or whatever.
It was so bad. I hated it so much. You know what's the worst part about this is that toxic Star Wars fandom was like, his head's not long enough, which was true.
Like, his neck.
Because he's a Utapau character,
yeah.
like, and it's like, yeah, whatever. Like, I don't care. He's in 17 minutes of this series. Like, it just doesn't matter. And then, like, for 1 minute of the series, it's the worst part of the series. It's like the literal worst part of the show is him coming back to life, and you're like, this was so bad. Like, you murdered a character we know is alive, and then his comeback was
surprise.
He was like
dead.
He just like danced on the screen. It was like, F you, little girl, and it was so bad. It was so bad.
Yeah. So, but while the scene was really cool, as far as like with lightsaber issues, right? Like when Obi-Wan like invades the torture chamber area and does the cool like, aha, gotcha. Like there's one thing he like bounces off the armor of the stormtrooper when he strikes it. It's like that's not
okay. So that's just a continuity error. I forgive all continuity errors for what it's worth.
Yeah.
But
can we loop that into like lightsabers not killing people?
Okay. Can we have a different conversation? Because I have a could be better for Star Wars.
Sure.
And this is a common one, but this show really put it home for me. What is the point in Stormtrooper armor? Like,
I don't know.
the Clone War armor clearly saves clones. Like, we see it happen. I've never seen a Stormtrooper live through freaking rocks, spears, blasters, light. Like, it does literally nothing.
You can make me spit. Oh.
It's so bad. What is the point in Stormtrooper armor? And here's the thing. I love that, like, the fans have come up with a theory that it's, like, just cheap fascist armor, right? They're just, giving you something, like... But why? Why? Like... I hate it. I hate it.
Yeah.
I don't want to be that Star Wars fan, but, like... There's a point where Obi-Wan is shooting with, like, the smallest freaking blaster pistol in the world and just murking nerds. And I'm like, your armor doesn't stop that? The thing is like the scene, or two scenes before that, what's her name? Oh my gosh, I just forgot her name.
Who are you talking about?
The traitor girl.
Tala.
Tala has to literally point blank 3 times shoot a stormtrooper to get through his armor. Like, 3 scenes before that. Right? Boom, boom, boom. To kill one of them. Because one of them she shoots under his helmet, and then the other one she has to shoot, like, next to him. And then 3 scenes later, or 1 scene later, Obi-Wan's pew, 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 pew. It's just mind-boggling. It's just like... let's move on to Lovitz, though, because I have some huge Lovitz in that scene.
I've got one more. Maybe it's a Lovitz for you, but this could be better for me. I am glad that the Star Wars fan people who don't watch the extended universe stuff, I'm just on the internet, and so I see a lot of stuff, like clips and things. But the Ahsoka moment between Vader and Obi-Wan, like I want, I part of me wants to save that because we've got an Ahsoka series coming, right? We've got an Ahsoka series coming. That would be
I need you to
cool.
be really specific about this. Could be better.
Right. So it is an awesomely, like, it's very well done. It is a cool. It's like the exact, like, frame for frame, like the half face thing, just plucked right out of Clone Wars. Okay, so
So first of all, before a YouTube comment, that's Rebels.
Okay. Okay.
I'm stopping
Sorry,
the YouTube comments, man. I'm saving us.
Yeah. Okay.
Hold on. I need to understand.
I didn't watch clip.
No, that's totally fair. Is your could be better that it was too close to Rebels?
It's that, like, we have an Ahsoka series coming up, so it might have been better placed there. It still works in this context, right?
Why doesn't Anakin get that moment with? He already got that moment with Ahsoka, right? Why doesn't he get it with Obi-Wan?
Well, that's future time. That's future timeline, right? For Rebels.
Yes. Rebels takes place after this. My question for you is, as far as a viewer of the content, you've already seen him have this moment with Ahsoka. If we were to rank people of importance in Anakin's life, right, being number 1 Padme, maybe number 2 Obi-Wan.
His mom. I don't know. I think his mom.
Maybe his mom's number 2.
Yeah.
Maybe his mom's number 1. I don't know. His mom's somewhere in the top 3, and then Ahsoka, right? So, like, why doesn't he deserve this moment with Obi-Wan?
It's not a deserve thing. It's just like, I don't know if they're going. Which, again, this goes into more timeline things too, right? Like, they might not be in that time. Like, we might not see Vader Ahsoka. In that series.
I don't think you'll see it again. That we already know that that's the first time she sees him and the last time she sees him.
Yeah. So
I don't know that you know that,
so cool.
but that's factual.
Okay.
This is cool so hard. I'm going to spoil so much Star Wars for you.
Space. Right. I didn't know if we were going to experience that space in the Ahsoka series that is coming. And so, like,
there could be
my head.
Oh, I like this. Hold on. I like what you just said. There could be Vader Ahsoka moments after the time travel crap.
So that's all. It's just like that might be, I don't know, like doing the same shot for shot thing.
Speaking of could be betters, can we move on to my lovets that are your could be betters?
Yes.
Oh yeah. So my biggest love it is the scene that we were just describing. I have a lot of reasons for this to be a love it. One of it is continuity. There's a moment in that scene where Obi-Wan goes from calling him Anakin to calling him Darth.
Yeah.
Which is a moment which is what he calls him in A New Hope.
Yes.
So that's a continuity correction that we got from this. There's a moment where we get to see Anakin talking to Obi-Wan, which we've already talked about in this episode. I thought was one of the most beautifully done pieces of cinema ever. Like, just literally, I was like, oh my, I'm literally sobbing while this happens. The fight scene is a love it for me. I don't even think we've mentioned the fight scene yet. It is.
We didn't really talk
go ahead.
about the end fight scene, which is the you see Obi-Wan come back in his own, and it's.
Well, there's a couple.
He's like pre.
Go
ahead. It feels like you get the feeling of like, oh, this is like back to like Clone Wars Obi-Wan, like he's found himself.
Yeah, I mean, Vader even talks about it, right? Like, there's a moment where Oh man, I have so many love it's for these 3 episodes. Yeah. I might need to rattle them off. What you're talking about is one of them, right? We both have Vader crushing Obi-Wan to start this fight, even though Obi-Wan is clearly stronger than he was in their last fight. And then the arrogance of Anakin coming through to believe that he has won. And then Obi being like, no, stop. Like, you do this all the time. And I think that it drives Anakin mad to the point where he has to realize that he hasn't killed Anakin yet. Anakin lives. And he gives into Anakin multiple times in the series. One of the reasons that I love that scene so much is that he's like, oh, I killed Anakin. But then he's like, but you didn't do this. Which is clearly Anakin talk. Like, if I was Vader, I'd torture Obi-Wan with this information. That's not what he does. He gives him an out. Because he's not fully bad yet, which is what Luke pulls out of Vader. Right? And I think that it's important to note that Luke pulls Anakin out of Vader. That you can be...
The whole, like, Obi-Wan believed that there was
nothing
good in me.
Obi-Wan finally got to the point where he didn't believe that. I mean, and if you've watched Rebels, eventually Ahsoka gets there too, where there's no good left in you.
Yeah.
I mean, if I'm gonna have it could be better, I still think that the Ahsoka fight is better than this fight. Like,
oh, for sure.
Like, I will avenge him is just a better line. Like I'm no Jedi, and I will avenge him is like, oh my gosh, let's go. But my love it for this scene is just, it's so deep. It's, as a person that identifies with Anakin without being a fascist piece of crap, like, I was just mono impressed with the scene. I have another love it. Reva versus Vader. The choreograph in this where Reva's trying to find an opening and does a bunch of slides. There's a moment in Revenge of the Sith that people like to make fun of where they're twirling their lightsabers around each other.
Oh, right, yeah.
Yeah. Fun fact, that's a real sword fighting technique. It's called reverse parrying. And they're just doing it at super speeds. It's a real fencing technique. Where you reverse parry instead of actually parrying your opponent. You reverse it to then get
like they might miss. And then,
so instead, right. So instead of literally a parry, you instead reverse parry where you go the opposite direction to then get the hit. And they're both reverse parrying at the same time. It's a real sword fighting technique. Everybody who's ever made fun of it and they're like, this is pointless. It's like, no, it's not. This is just factually, you've just never been in a real sword fight.
I don't know many people who have, unless you do.
Have you not choreographed a sword fight before?
I have. I know.
Okay.
I have.
Okay. Have you then also? Not. I assume because you've been in a choreographed sword fight that you also might have played around outside of your choreography. Yeah? And did you learn some stuff from actually holding a sword and what works and what doesn't?
Yeah, I've definitely poked myself a few times. So.
Oh, that's not what I meant, but that's funny. So my point is that I haven't seen them yet, but I assume we'll get a bunch of memes of Reva sliding in and out for this fight. And hold on. When you watch, she's like trying to strike Vader at weak points. And then she goes low, high, low, high, low, high. Right? She's trying to find a weak point before she picks her stance. I loved that. I thought it was good choreography. As somebody who's choreographed sword fights myself, like the choreography on that fight specifically, that was a mono sword fight, was real sweet. My last love it for these episodes is the holster scene. I was sobbing. Straight up sobbing. I think this little girl. Well, hold on. Actually, I have a bigger love it. I think this little girl crushed Leia. From the interrogation scene to the holster scene, I believe that I was watching. Oh man, I'm gonna cry. I believed I was watching a young Carrie Fisher. Like.
Oh, definitely. There were some looks, even.
Yeah.
Just like the way she looked at some people.
So, Carrie Fisher's really personal to me. I'm gonna cry. I'm definitely gonna cry.
Yep. It's all right.
And I felt like I was watching a young Carrie. And if you say a mean word about this little girl, I think you're a human garbage. Like, she crushed it. So I need to mute my mic so that you can go.
So we talked. So my last love it was those specific payoffs. I had some things like I better see Liam Neeson. That definitely happened. And say, you wish weren't ready yet. And we got a hello there when he spoke to Luke, because I was wanting that hello there. I forget exactly.
It was so
scene.
cute. I actually really liked him giving the toy to Luke too.
Yeah.
I like that too.
And Owen just kind of come around, you want to meet him?
Oh,
right.
Actually,
he's still going to be distant.
This is actually a love of mine that I didn't get to mention. I thought that the Lars family did a stellar job of conveying that they wanted. So one, they wanted Luke, but they didn't want Luke to be his dad. And
right.
It's the memes were really funny for what it's worth, of the level of roast that episode 1 Owen had on Obi-Wan, you trained his father? It was so good. Literally maybe one of the best lines in cinematic history.
Yeah. I did love that meme account. That was
it's so good.
I forget.
Doesn't matter. It's fine. You shout it out at the end. I think that if there's anything, there was so much more to love in these episodes than there was that could be betters.
Yep.
Paddy B, though, I have a problem with your rating. I'm gonna call you out on it.
I know.
So no, hold on. You rated the last 3 episodes of 4.
Oh, I did. Okay, so last 3 episodes are a 5.
Oh!
Series as a whole.
Are you rating the series as a whole now?
I was doing, since we're kind of bookending Kenobi,
okay.
right?
So hold on.
I was kind of doing a whole series.
Well, let's do it this way. You can ignore your rating then. I was gonna make fun of Paddy B, but I'm not going to now because I understand his point of view. I'm gonna go first. First, I'm gonna re-rate episodes 1 through 3. They're the same thing. They're a 4.5. Now I'm gonna rate episodes 4 through 6. I think they're a 5. Now I'm gonna rate the series. I think it's a 4.5. I think that the payoffs were great. I still think the pacing in episodes 1 through 3 was enough to notch it down for me. While I have that big could be better, and while I believe that the 6 episodes could have been a movie, it does not change the fact for me that it was that great. And I have a Star Wars bias, so mine are probably going to be super high. So Paddy B, how would you rate episodes 1 through 3 now?
Seeing what we saw in 4 through 6, it really highlights how I'm 3.5 on episodes 1 through 3.
3.5?
3.5.
You went down.
Because of how much better I think.
Okay.
The last 3
episodes 4 through 6.
4.5.
And now you're
I said
going.
5, but like the plot hole, like it's gonna be really hard for me to get over.
How
that
there's
Regan's
not a
still
plot hole.
around.
I don't understand. The only person who could kill her that knows she's alive is Obi-Wan, and he's not gonna kill her.
Yeah.
How is it a plot? I don't understand. We have to talk about this.
So right.
So in
that's
future,
how Owen
hold on,
gets
time out.
injury.
No, stop. In future episodes, this would be part of the bonus episode that we don't have right now. We would just record this conversation afterwards. You don't have to tell them.
Get there.
You don't have to tell them. If they want to know, they'll have to subscribe for a future bonus episode.
Ooh. And add me on Twitter.
Yeah.
We can talk about it.
So you're going 4, because like that's the average?
Yeah.
I feel like you adjusted your rating to get to the 4. And I know you did that, and I'm calling you out. Yeah, YouTube viewers know. Thank you so much for watching us. You can find me at Spencer13H. You can find Paddy at Paddy B MTG. You can also find me on the CCMTG podcast, the Smash Through podcast. And you can find me and Paddy B each and every other week here on the channel. I'll find other ways to get Paddy B involved. Like and subscribe. It's the best way to support the show. If you get the chance to leave a review, it's amazing for us. If you want advice on how to start your Anchor podcast, reach out to me directly. But the next review is the most important one. Smash that 5 stars on iTunes. Paddy B, I told you, how many percentage of our listeners listen on Apple Podcasts?
It was like 20%?
No, more.
19%?
More. 36.
Oh, that was the devices.
36% listen on Apple Podcasts.
We have a 2319 on 23% of that is iPhones, 19% is on MacBooks.
That's so. Why are those not? Why is just that not one iOS? That's a weird stat, right? Like
numbers.
That's weird. What was most impressive of our meeting today, though, was a huge shout out to our listeners.
Yes.
I have done a lot of podcasts, and the fact that we have created a community where women and non-binary folks feel included enough to listen to the show. I just want to say that you will forever be included here. And if you have any feedback on how we could be better and be more inclusive, let us know. But I have looked at a lot of podcast numbers. I've never seen numbers like what we have achieved here. Thank you. And we will see you all next week with another episode of Need to Nerd. You, as the co-host, are supposed to say something quippy before I stop recording.
Oh. Before you stop recording?
Yeah.
Oh.
Bye.
Into this.